Hey guys, so I've got an interesting, somewhat polarizing, even within myself, book here to review. This was just released today as of posting this, February 7th, from FSG. It's Universal Harvester by John Darnielle. This was an interesting read for me. I got through it basically in one sitting, and it started out as I expected, an uneasy, mystifying situation, piling mystery upon mystery, that eventually transfigured into this kind of slow-moving, morose study of not the situation, but the characters put into that situation, what it causes them to do, to want, and to know. The world they knew and rested moderately comfortably in, suddenly upended by something, in the case of the beginning bits, so simple as a VHS tape. Jeremy works in a now dead industry, once known as video rental. The video hut he's at is in its last few good years, however slow those years may be. It's the kind of place in the kind of town that every customer is a regular, and Jeremy knows all of their names and preferences, what days they come, what they'll likely pick up next. He's ambitiously ordinary and happy to be that way. He works for a woman named Sarah Jane. He lives with his widower father, whom he watches movies with every single night, and the only other real contact he has with is customers and sometimes the other employee at the video hut, Ezra. So from the very first page, this story is unwaveringly melancholy. It radiates disconcertment, juxtaposed with Jeremy's seemingly content outlook. It's no surprise to the reader when weird things start to happen. A customer comes in with this VHS tape that seems to have been overwritten in small sections with some weird black and white imagery, and Jeremy's only response to this is, "I'm sorry," because he's just got no idea what to do about that. He eventually watches it, and another one brought in by another customer later, which elicits a reaction of growing confusion. To the reader at first, you hardly notice the change, but as it goes along, as the story gives him more and more reason to think about what he saw, the more reaction we get from him. We're not really even initially told what's on these tapes, just that it's something off-putting. One of the customers who brought one of these tapes to his attention wants to investigate it further, and so does his boss, Sarah Jane, who eventually watches them herself and realizes that they were shot nearby. But where it goes from there can hardly be expected, because you're not entirely sure the whole time what it's trying to do, or if you're following along properly. It was difficult to put down when I was reading it, and not for the reasons you might think. In fact, it's almost like the author worked profusely to keep this from having any semblance of the fast-paced or thriller-esque. I expected a sort of quick, creepy mystery with a VHS store-focused premise, and really did not get that at all. And I think it'll be hit or miss depending on the reader, whether that's a good thing or not. It's the perfect setup for such a story, but then it really breaks away completely into a cut-up, though extremely well-written, study on its characters, the different ways in which they, knowingly or unknowingly, interact with one another's lives, and of these small towns like this that almost seem like another character. This is a really quick read, but because of the atmosphere, the writing, and the length, and not because of any cheap thrills a lesser author might have exploited with the exact same setup. And I mean, John Darnielle's writing really does wonders. It works its tone right into the core of you and puts forth imagery right before you as you read. That's easily the best part of this. It put me in a particular mood and mind frame and kept me and held me there, while the plot and the pacing felt off and disjointed. The words themselves were mesmerizing. It's a bit frustrating at times to skip around so much between character perspectives, which I haven't even really gone into because I don't want to spoil anything, but the characters were still well written, and he captured them, their personalities, their moods, their thoughts and actions perfectly. I felt for these people in one way or another, but their stories are all mixed up. It would get interesting, slowly build something up, then kind of jump to something else without satisfying our curiosity. Darnielle's got a very interesting way of revealing information. Certain things are left ambiguous, and the payoff is almost as melancholy as the writing. I do not think that this book is about its mystery, rather the atmosphere among the characters that mystery creates, and what it does to them as people. the mystery, it sets it off, but it becomes something else. I mean, sometimes a mystery is not as deep as you might think. It's not something to be solved by you or those you know. Sometimes it's not for you, but it can still affect your life. I wouldn't go into this expecting a gratifying, full-circle, fast-paced mystery, but rather a look at monotony, and in this case, an extreme answer to that sort of initial contented monotony. There's more to this story than any one character's life, because it stretches back and affects people that otherwise would have never had any connection whatsoever. It's weird, it's slow, it's unsettling, and it's meditative. It's not perfect and ultimately left me confused, but it's got worth that transcends its premise. I do highly suggest this to anyone that does love an atmosphere that's like that. If you enjoy that kind of feeling, then I think you will enjoy this book. Like I said, the writing is just wonderful. It's fantastic writing. I really enjoyed his writing style, and I kind of really want to read his other book, Wolf in the White Van, now. But if you have any interest in owning this, I actually was sent this finished hardcover after I was sent the ARC edition of this, which I actually like more. So this ARC was sent to me by the publisher, and it's like a VHS tape. It even says "Be Kind, Rewind" on the side of it. And when you open the case, it has like a nice little thin mass market paperback in here. And this is actually what I read out of. And I really like that. I really like the VHS tape mass market paperback ARC. So I want to keep that one for myself because I really like it, and I think I will definitely reread this book at some point. I do genuinely think that it would add to my understanding and my enjoyment of the story if I were to read it over again. And like I said, I read it in like almost one sitting, so it would be very quick to reread it at some point. But that leaves me with a hardcover. I don't necessarily need 2 copies of this, so I'm going to just go ahead and give this away to you guys. So if you guys are interested in this hardcover edition, it's really beautiful. It's like an inlaid text. It's not flat. It doesn't stick out. It's like indented into the page, into the jacket, and it's nice and shiny and beautiful, and it's a weird story with really good writing and really good characters. So if you're interested in it, please let me know. Comment down below, and I will pick a random winner at some point, probably at the beginning of March. I'll give you a whole month to go ahead and enter into this, and just be subscribed, comment on this video, and like it, and all that kind of jazz. And it will be international, so you can feel free to enter if you don't live in the US. So thank you guys so much for watching. I think that's it for this. If you have been able to find this and pick it up by the time you watch this review, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you've read his other book, I would love to hear your thoughts on that as well. Apparently he's a musician as well. He's the lead singer and I think guitarist in a band. So if you've heard any of his music, feel free to talk about that as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you later with more.